boys and girls, welcome back to Art with Mrs. Shop. So last week we had worked on our Hug Me lesson, cactus art, and we had used lines to create our cactus, but then we also used these lines to create texture on our cactus so that it looks like in our picture that it's spiky, it's pokey. So we use those lines to create texture in our artwork. And then we also created our background. Remember, we used this horizon line to divide our foreground from our background, which is the area that's going around and behind our cactus. But we used one crayon and we used value, which is showing the light and dark. And see, you can even see here the light all the way up to darker using just that one crayon. And the way I did that was I pressed really light right here with my crayon, but then up here I'm pushing down harder with my crayon. So today I'm going to try to show you the first way of coloring in your cactus using value, and also I might do another video where you can see if you decide to use watercolors or some kind of paint that you can do it that way as well. So we're going to get started with crayons on this video, and you can pick which one it works for you. If you are using copy paper or like from your printer, or if you're using white notebook paper, you need to stick with like crayons, because you cannot use like the watercolors on those. It will make the paper ruined and it will probably rip a hole in your paper. So in order to achieve this look right here, I actually used 3 different crayons on the color wheel that they are all next to each other. They're called analogous colors, which means they're neighbors. They're right next to each other. And I used yellow, green, and green. This is one of my intermediate colors. So I used all 3 to show value and show dark, and also show some lighted areas in here. Now in value you can use one and just press down lighter and darker, but like I said, I wanted to show some more color in here, so I used these 3 colors. So when I started coloring my cactus, and again boys and girls, this is just ideas for you to use, but I do want to see some value in your artwork somewhere. So in the background, like I said, coloring from light to dark, and you can even show some light and dark in your cactus. So I do want to see value, but you do not need to copy mine exactly. You be creative and you come up with your own. So what I started off with was the yellow crayon, and I'm going to color, and I'm making sure that when I color, boys and girls, that I color in one direction. I'm not going up and down and then side to side and then over here. I'm making sure that I'm trying to keep my crayon going in the same direction so that my coloring is smooth. Another thing I don't want to do right now is I don't want to color through my eyes, because when I do that you can see the crayon in your black marker and it makes your artwork look a little bit messy. So we don't want to color through our eyes. So you can see I'm going right down the middle of the head or the face with my cactus, and I'm just using that yellow crayon, coloring in one direction, nice and neat, making sure that I'm not really leaving any white space, boys and girls. I don't want my artwork to look like it's not finished. So I'm going to finish coloring my yellow. I'm also going to do this yellow all the way down, but then I'm going to come and do it on each one of my little curved pieces that I did right here. Okay, so now I'm finished with the yellow and kind of creating some light areas where it looks like it makes it more round, and it also makes it where it looks like light is hitting the cactus. So now I'm going to take my yellow green, because I want to blend in these colors and create another color. So I'm actually going to take that yellow green and I'm going to do the same thing, but notice I'm coloring over the yellow, but I'm also making the green a little bit longer than I did the yellow, so that way I'm mixing my colors but also giving me a little bit of that yellow green by itself. So I'm just coloring it in. Again, I'm just coloring right over that yellow, creating a lighter color here. This is where I start mixing my colors, and I can do this with paint, but I also do this with crayons, colored pencils, just to really play with color and create new colors. So again, I'm just going to go through and I'm going to color all my light green all the way down, and see, I come over with my green I can color kind of fast right here, but I'm just coloring. Remember, I don't want to color through like my face and my eyes, so I want to make sure that I slow down in those areas. But notice my green is coming past my yellow now, and I'm just coloring yellow-green there. So I'm going to finish coloring the rest of this with yellow-green and come back to you when I'm ready. Right, so now I have gone and I've colored the yellow, and I've colored the yellow-green, and now I'm going to take my green crayon and I'm going to color in on the sides, and I'm just going to come in, but I'm going to color the same kind of pressure I was putting on the other ones, but I'm just kind of blending it in with those colors, and I just kind of color in a little bit of that yellow and that green together so that when I do, my colors blend together, and I've got this nice pretty color that it just kind of blends together and creates value. Again, I'm coloring in, but I'm also coloring towards this other color. I'm not coloring up and down because I want my colors to blend in together, and you can see that I'm coloring some of that green into my yellow here so that my colors blend really nice in here. So I'm going to do the same thing over here. Notice I'm coloring some of my green over here. I'm using some of it over there, but I'm coloring and I'm going to touch each other. So I'm coloring towards each other, and I want to do that so that way they blend in together. And see how I color in? I'm making sure that I also, if you did make little cheek rosy cheeks for your cactus, that you don't color through that. We don't want to mix whatever color, if it's pink or green, that we don't mix those colors together. So again, see how I'm coloring in with my green over here, but I'm also coloring just the green by itself, but I want to blend in these colors. So I don't want to make a line. I want to make sure that I overlap those colors. Overlap means you go one on top of the other. So I'm going to overlap my colors and really blend them in some so that my colors are nice and smooth instead of creating a line straight down my paper. I'm going to clean up some of my green over here, and I'm going to continue coloring just like that, overlapping my colors within these next few pieces. So I finished coloring the green and the cactus and creating value, which is light and dark of a color, using my yellow green and my green, those analogous colors that are next to each other on the color wheel. Now I need to add, I'm going to use red to color these little berries that are up on top of it. This is where actually the cactus blossoms, but then it also creates this little fruit piece that's up here, and people use it for making jelly, and they might even make it other things, but I know that I have used it to make jelly. So again, I want to show value just like I did in here, where I have dark on the outside and light on the inside. And just like I used here, where I did light here and dark here with the same crayon, I'm going to do that with my red. So in the center, we said we wanted lighter. So I'm barely pressing down, boys and girls, using that crayon. But then if I want darker, I'm going to press down harder. And I'm going to use that to make my piece right here have value and light. And I'm going to do the same thing over on this side, is I'm going to use it to make light and dark. So now I also want to do the same thing with my tongue and my cheek right here. So I'm going to use light at the top of my tongue, but then as I go down and I get closer to the bottom of the tongue down here, I want to use a little bit darker so that it shows that value in here. I'm going to do the same thing kind of with my pieces right here on the sides where I'm doing my cheeks, and I'm going to kind of create darker and then go to lighter. So I noticed I came in here also, boys and girls, before we get started, and I've finished coloring my cactus and the background. Now I need to color the foreground, but I had added some lines in here, just kind of wavy organic shapes, so that I could add texture to my ground and it looks kind of rocky or bumpy instead of just a brown space. And it does not have to be brown, boys and girls. You can make this any color you want. But again, I do want to see you use some value in here. And again, you can use just one crayon if you want, or you could use multiple crayons. So I am using my brown, and I'm using some lighter around the edges, and I'm just coloring in kind of quickly so that I don't take much of your time on this video. But I'm just coloring around, and the reason I'm going to do lighter on the edges is because right here is where the cactus is casting his shadow in front of him, because I'm assuming the light is somewhere back over here behind him. So we're going to cast a shadow kind of in front of him. So after I get done doing some light around here, then I'm going to take my crayon and I'm going to start pressing down just a little darker so that we can really create that value. And that's really what I'm focusing on in this, is creating value in your artwork so that it makes it look a little better than just making it flat on your paper. We kind of add some depth to it. So I want to see some shadows, some value, some light and dark. So I added some value in my coloring here, but I'm also going to add some shadow. And what I said with the other kiddos was we grabbed a black crayon and we just use this very light, because if we press down just a little bit with our black, it's very powerful color. So we're just going to use it actually really light like this. We don't want this really dark right here. And we're going to use that in some areas to create shadows. So like usually right above, see how light that is, boys and girls? I don't want to make it too dominant. So, and I'm going to do that on every single piece, like right above where it could be casting a shadow from the other pieces and like dark areas, kind of like in your toes, or if you had like your under your arms, things like that, where it would be casting a shadow from other pieces. So you can see I'm just being really light using a black crayon, but not too much. I don't want to press. I'm even going to put some, just a little bit under here to cast a little bit of a shadow underneath the mouth, and even a little bit under the eyes. I don't want too much, boys and girls, because then he's going to look like a raccoon and with these big circles under his eyes. And again, I'm going to use that black to kind of come in here and cast that shadow in there and cast a shadow on the ground. And so now you have finished your artwork. What I would really, really like, boys and girls, is I would love to be able to take this artwork and hang it up in the school. So if you would put your name on the back, your grade level, and your teacher, and then turn it into my art box in the school lobby, then I would love to be able to do that. Send me a picture, boys and girls, and have a great day.